Hey, this is Coach K, coming to you live on another series of the mini curriculum, talking about the Game Changers Championship. This is part of the academy that I built for the Avatar system, for the Avatar Nation. These are the opportunities to get to know who you are in the mind frame of championship through your bloodlines, ancestors, the 400 years of the diaspora from Africa coming to the Americas, the ones that were here in the Americas who were trafficked, killed, kidnapped, raped, bred, put through cruelties and unusual punishments, generation to generation. We're talking 400 years of generations putting through chattel slavery. So this Game Changers Championship is the generation that is rising up as the avatar, as the phoenix, rising out of the dust, rising up based on using all of those years of suffering, using that power to transform their body, their mind, their heart, their soul into a everlasting government in earth as it is in heaven, being able to transcend above and beyond the normalization, socialization, and the sexualization of this colonial system or colonization and globalization, going beyond using energy, currency, to be more valuable than USD currency or the currency of materialism. What I am doing as a coach is motivating that population to become a nation, to get organized enough, using all their power to not just be scattered and work as groups or just work as individuals, but work as teams, work with playbook strategies, start sitting at the table to start being a think tank and a task force to intentionally not just use boycotts and protesting, but start using collaboration and cooperation to be incorporated and to work as a economy system, to learn how to trade together, learn how to bargaining together, learn how to shift culture together, learn how to shift money together. You know, if you're spending $15,000, $20,000, $30,000 a year on products at certain companies, how to shift that $30,000 into a new economy system. And if you have a following of 10, 15,000 people and they're spending about $30,000 a year, how to shift those economies so that you can not just boycott, protest, march, but you can also build events, marathons, do more with your money, like get the bang for your buck. Sometimes when we rely on the government, we are the government. You know, when people talk about church and Christianity, they're talking about learning how to be self-government when they say that you are the church. The kingdom of God lives in you. They're talking about greater is he that lives in thee. See, the government and corporations and business was all a mental thought. before it became conceptualized. It used to have an embryo. It used to be a sperm and cell in the thought world, and then it became conceptualized. And when it became conceptualized, it became the embryo, and then the embryo turned into like the larva, the egg, and it grew into a stage that it manifests in this world as what we call now a government, a corporation, globalization. But it had to start somewhere. So what I'm doing now in these curriculums is teaching out of these books, using ancestral knowledge as well as historical artifacts, using censored and uncensored information, but also the guidance and inspiration of the Holy Spirit to read through some of these mysteries so that we can, as a population, whether allies or the bloodlines, come together and be a dream team, work together, know our role, our position of power, use it to its highest level to achieve excellence. And when we are or become good stewardship and learn how to shift, we build paradises and prosperities and blessings, not just on a simple level, but on a complex level, which allows us to be at the top of the food chain. We've always been at the top of the food chain. We just was forced. They took it by force, the position of power. It's like when you play musical chairs, you are sitting in a seat, but when you stand up and start moving around, someone else takes your chair by force. This is the kind of ordeal that we as vulnerable populations go through when you have a meek heart, a kind heart, a gentle heart. You don't take things by force normally. And so when you're up against opposition and people that are aggressive, they don't have a problem taking things by force. And it puts you in a situation to go against yourself, to be unloyal to yourself, to be disloyal to yourself. And that is a division of self. And you can't stand if you're divided in your own self. And that has been the problem. People's been working on 100% of momentum because they're aggressive and they're in an aggressive world and they don't have to be divided. But then there's people that are gentle and kind and loving and have a spirit of God that has been given to them, which is the gift of love. They do not always feel whole because they feel divided in a world that vexes them. They want to rise up, but they don't want to hurt in the process. They don't want to hurt themselves. They don't want to hurt others. And this is where it becomes a division within itself. And then we cannot be the government, the everlasting government, because we do not have the invention or the innovation or the intellectual property, the strategies, the blueprints to implement mastery of our gifts. Whether it is love and gentleness and kindness, they become stagnant and in a rut. And they don't grow into mastery where we can transcend and transform and be the actualization system that the world should be in government or in coexistence with. We are here to rise because without light, there's only darkness. And with all light, there is no darkness. So we are in the harvest times where there's light in darkness, and sometimes the darkness is more engulfed because the light is stagnant. It's in a rut and it won't shine because it's divided in itself, because it doesn't want to be aggressive, but it doesn't know how to master its, proactivity of kindness and love and gentleness where it can prevail, because love wins. It always wins. So when it does not win, then it's sleeping. It's not present. It's not awakened. It's not sober. It's not alert. Because love has stages of alertness. It could be passive alert. It could be not aggressive, but assertive alert. Because you got to be on some level of active to prevail. You have to have some way of moving forward. I'm not saying it has to be aggressive, but it has to be in a momentum that it picks up speed, stamina, relentless, persistent to prevail. And love always wins. So when you see a community or environment that love is not winning, that means it's absent. It's not there, because love always wins. It's like fire. It consumes. It even consumes hate. It swallows up hate. Hate has no authority when a love is present, truly present. Because love is like the lake of fire. It's like brimstone. It's hot. Nothing can survive it when it's present. So if you see darkness, or you see evil, or you see wickedness prevailing in a community, then you trust and believe that means it is definitely love is not present. Love is not present. And this conversation is to teach out of these textbooks, to use as tools to build mastery for leaders with their leadership and their leadership style, and their teams of leadership. Because just because you're a leader of a team, everybody on your team should be a leader of their own team, and so forth. Every single person in the world should be a leader and a team player, both simultaneously. That's the only way to be an undefeated champion, invincible, is to be on both teams. One team as a leader and one team as a team player. But you have to be on the right team to be a team player. You can't be on the wrong team, because then you'll run up against, stagnation, because you can't be valuable if you're not growing, if you're not momentum, or you don't see your momentum. So you have to be on the right team to be a team player, and you have to be a leader, and you have to be an effective leader on your team. You can't just be a leader that is unaware, not sober, not alert, and definitely not mastery of its own skill, because you can't duplicate it. How can you duplicate undefeated championships if you're not a champion yourself? You have to have some of those scores under your belt to be able to duplicate it in anything and in everything you do. You got to have that experience in your cup of life to be able to duplicate it, so that it could be endless or bottomless, so that you can share your overflow. That is what it means to have an experience, whether it's educational, training, or teaching, a recipient of a teacher pouring into you. It's the same as if you have the experience. It has to be put into you, whether by spirit or by a teacher or by yourself, self-made, by experience. So this is what this is all about. Being a champion is using that overflow, that experience, that education, that training, that mentorship, being a recipient of it, and then duplicating it on every level. And this is why I do what I do as a scientist and a professor of my own academy. I share it to the world for free because the global system had the audacity to try to push me out by not paying me, by not hiring me, by not providing me loans, not providing me grants, not providing me the financial security to be able to do this on a what we call a global scale. But because of the power of the Holy Spirit and the faith of fate, the predestiny, it has already been written that this was going to be done. And there was already people in the world opening opportunities so that I could do this for free. And now the whole world is getting to be able to receive something that would have cost billions of dollars, millions of dollars to have, and they get it for free. Because of all these open source communities, I'm able to provide and use multi-million-dollar studios for free because of an open source community or forum. And that's how you know that there's a will, there's a way. When there's a God of love, there is provisions. When I started this journey, I was thinking, there's so many roadblocks, there's so many oppositions. There's no way. Absolutely not. I said, I cannot do this by myself. And then, lo and behold, I see the teams appearing. I had to call it the Underground Railroad. I had to. The 21st Century Underground Railroad, manifesting in the present moment without even trying to request for its support. It just materialized. If only you knew and see the footprint in the sand, you will be in awe. I'm in awe. And so here we are. So this lecture is part of the mini-series, the 3 textbooks. I like to do this introduction because everyone doesn't know who I am. I'm not a household name brand. So I have to do these introductions all the time. We work through The Strength of Love by the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. That class work has been done. I will teach it every other year because I have to do the other mini curriculums, and then I rotate. And then as we grow in the academy, I'll have other professors teach out of these textbooks, and then we'll build together. So Cindy Trim wrote an excellent book called The Prosperous Soul. So I'll teach out of that book. And then I'll teach out of the book of The Rich Get Richer and the Poor Gets Prison by Jeffrey Raymond and Paul Layton. Today, in this conversation, I am teaching out of the coaching book on how to evoke excellence out of others. Because it doesn't make sense to do all this hard work. You boycott, you protest, you march, you plead for mercy in letters, you reason with people's hearts, but you don't know how to evoke. That is what we as a people of meekness, a people of gentleness, a people of goodness, a people of love, have to learn how to coach. We have to, because people do not always choose the decisions that are the best for the community. They always choose self-preservation or their... So, sorry, that was too loud. Can you hear me? Okay, so I had to pick that conversation up. So let's begin. We're going to work on the human body in the evoking excellence in this conversation, as I'm teaching out of that by I'm sorry. Okay, so let's begin. We have not yet spoken about the most obvious component of the human beings, and that is that every human being has a human body. I've been assuming in all this discussion that a person has a body that functions well enough so that he is able to interact with the phenomena that he encounters with the full range of human possibilities. A body must have an intact nervous system. In order for this to happen, as Helen Keller, Stephen Hawking, and Christy Brown have shown us, with a nervous system intact, almost all other human activities are possible in some way. Our body, though, is not only a collection of chemicals arranged in a sophisticated system. Our body is also the way we are in the world, and our body will at each moment tell us how open or closed we are and what is the real nature of our concern. Sometimes we try to deny this or ignore it, as when we are meeting someone who is very important to us. Sorry, I had to sneeze. Sometimes we try to deny this or ignore it, as when we are meeting someone who is very important to us, and our body is responding with a racing heart while we are pretending to be cool or distant. At other times, our body will be tired and heavy in a way that we cannot explain at first. But upon reflection, we discover that we have lost touch with someone important to us, or have lost out on a chance to make something important to us happen. Our body doesn't, in a sense, end at the end of our skin, because, as I said earlier, what is close to us is not necessarily what is next to us physically. So our body extends to whatever and to whom or whenever our concern exists. If you've ever been with a homesick child or someone who is missing his beloved, you will have noticed the effect this has on his body. Physicians who attempt to cure people as if their bodies were only collections of bones, muscles, and chemicals often have a very difficult time healing them. You may have noticed this in your own experience with doctors, when it seems as if they are speaking about your body or a part of your body as if it were a separate and distinct object existing outside of your life. No real healing can occur in this way of understanding the body. Many therapeutic modalities have focused on the human body as a locus of transformation. Here's a representative listing. Hatha yoga is the most ancient of these. Postures and breathing exercise have brought strength, balance, and serenity to practitioners for centuries. Yoga can frequently be a useful agent to coaching programs, especially for clients who are experimentally distant from their body and emotions. The work of William Reich was directed at including the body as both a symbolic representation and container of neurotic patterns. Alexander Lowen brought Reiki's work to a wider non-professional audience through his writings and teachings. Ida Ruff established a school of body workers who assist clients to greater physical and emotional ease through a series of sessions in which body is realigned and gravity and patterns of chronic holding are released. A coach's familiarity with these and often methods will be of great assistance in designing coaching programs that can include referring a client to the appropriate practitioners. Reading the text cited will give the coach a better idea when such referral makes sense. Okay, before we go to the next section about death, we're going to coach a little bit out of that session, the human body. The prior lecture was about moods. how to coach in managing moods or helping people manage triggers and moods. Now we're talking about the human body, how you can coach people through and this would be a great way to start up coaching programs for police forces, law enforcement, legal. I mean, every industry. I really believe the next generation is going to include this in their models in everything they do. Life itself is going to have a team of professionals in everything, in every aspect of life. Coaches, mentors, trainers, teachers, they're going to see the holistic value that having on-call 24/7 experts is like having firemen in their lives. It's very important. You can't get into a medical hospital these days and not invite naturopathic practitioners or practitioners that understand, like yoga practitioners, people that understand ancient wisdoms. This is really part of the holistic approach to healing. And without it, it's almost walking in a circle, chasing your own tail because you're not moving forward. You have to have all the spectrums of people's opportunities that's been achievements. You have ancient remedies that have achieved great progress during ancient days, and it works, and it's been the oldest. And then you have new practices that have saw more accuracy, have been more progressive, that can work in compatibility, like a marriage, like a dream team. And we are recognizing that in this new 21st century generation. Generation X is one of the generations that recognizes that you have to be multidimensional. You have to. There is no life that is going to be a quality of life without the diversified portfolio of what we need to implement, what we need to integrate. We have to have mediators. We have to have it. There's no way that officers can be authoritarian in this generation. We're talking about ending school to prison pipeline. You cannot have a classroom anymore with a teacher. The generation of authoritarian is expired. It is extinct. And the more people that tries to perform it has failed, has been defective. We know now it runs on a finite perspective, a finite spectrum. It uses finite mathematics. The 21st century is more accurate. It understands that it is a real timeline of infinity. We have infinite math now, infinite ways of possibilities, of variables, of factors, invisible and visible, covert and overt. We understand deviation. There's so many generations that did not get these opportunities. How could we go back when we can go forward and bring the best from the past into compatibility, collaboration, and collective consciousness to the present in moving forward into growth and maturity and excellence? This is evoking excellence into every single person or entity or ecosystem or environment or community, government, business, whatever you can achieve and influence. It is the best of the best is to produce the best of all worlds. Who wouldn't think of something like that? That is like having a cake that has the best of the best ingredients of all ingredients in one meal. That is the complexity of the infinite in its simplicity. Get all the best and find the right chemistry and make it into one, what we call model. We'll call it a superpower model, right? Be that superpower model. Be the game changer. This is Coach K. And until next time, do something that no one would do. Be the inventor, be the innovator, be the intellectual property that people can count on because of the accuracy, because of the stamina, because of the relentless resilience, persistency, accuracy, effectiveness, and efficiency. Be the best of the best. Peace.